As part of Social Development Month, Minister Lindiwe Zulu today launching the Child Poverty and Child Support Grant Review. Her department commissioning the report from the University of Cape Town Children's Institute. Essentially, my understanding, it's going to take a look at child poverty and the impact of the grant. A whole review of this. Reporter Hloni Mthimkulu with us this afternoon. You've been following this. Hloni, hello to you. So I think it's no real surprise when I describe it as a dire situation of childhood poverty. So how exactly does this child support grant tie in with poverty?
Yeah, Gareth. So the child support grant in 1998 stood at 100 Rand when the whole process around getting a broader child support grant in place in the light of South Africa moving into democracy. So that was 100 Rand in 1998. It is currently 510 Rand. So just off of that, it's just increased by so much in a space of 25 years. And you can imagine what inflation has done in that period and how much food costs in that period between 1998 and 2023 where we are now. So that on its own is an issue. But we've also heard from Stats SA in terms of child hunger and how bad that is in the country and how many children are hungry and do go hungry and do go without a meal. And so we heard that 7 million children live below the food poverty line. The current food poverty line is 760 Rand. That's basically the amount of money that is spent per month to buy food that will sustain you at a basic energy level per day. So you're spending 760 Rand per month, but your food, your grant, your child support grant, which is meant to do everything else, not just for food, is 510 Rand. So again, you can kind of see the disparities in terms of that. SASSA, the Social Security Agency that administers the grants, they were there as well as part of the review report. It was the first time that this review report was done since 2010. SASSA was there, and their CEO, Busisiwe Memela Kambula, was saying that she is worried that they may not meet their National Development Plan outcome of 2030 to eradicate childhood poverty, because things are just so dire, where you have millions and millions and millions of children in the country going hungry, and the numbers just not adding up. But let's hear from the SASSA CEO herself.
The National Development Plan objective, which committed that by 2030, no South African should be living below the food poverty line. It's a serious struggle. With our economic situation now, we'll continue to battle to achieve this over and above the many things that we have not been able to achieve in terms of our commitment that on things that needed to be done by 2030. Our constitution, in terms of section 27, 1 of C, further committed that the right to social assistance for those who are unable to support themselves and their dependents is critical.
Now, Hloni, as you answer this next part of our discussion, I want everyone at home just try and imagine keeping a child going on 510 Rand a month. Anyone who's been to a shop recently knows how little 500 Rand, even 1,000 Rand these days, Hloni, is going to get you, never mind a hungry little one. So I suppose the question is about the increase of the child support grant. I know you spoke to the Children's Institute about how this could possibly be increased. What did they tell you?
Yeah, Gareth, and that's 13 million people that are reliant on this 510 Rand. That is the child grant at the moment. So you can just imagine how many people are having to survive off of 510 Rand, and not just for food, but just for general living in a month. But the Children's Institute, they were commissioned by the Department of Social Development to look into child hunger, child poverty, and what is happening around the child support grant, whether it is enough, what progress has been made over the years. And there is some progress that has been made over the years in terms of who has access to it, in terms of increasing the age of accessibility, in terms of limiting the sort of restrictions that were there initially, you know. So the Children's Institute was saying that initially a parent had to prove that they had been to look for work first, and they'd been to an employment center to find work. They also, for the mothers, had to prove that they had tried to get hold of the father, tried to get the father to pay maintenance and gone through all of this process. And many people can imagine just how much of those two, just trying to get maintenance and also employment, especially in South Africa, how cumbersome those sorts of things are. So those are some of the restricting factors. There was also an age limit to it, but that's been now put at 18 years of age. So there have been some limitations that have been removed. But in terms of increasing it a little bit more, because of course it's 510, up until last month it was 500 rand, so it increased along with the other social grants by 10 rand. That's not anywhere near close to what inflation is, and so there is obviously a very big gap in terms of how much you're spending and what is at the shops and how much things have gone up over the past few months. And the Children's Institute, they were saying that there are actually mechanisms to help the increase of this child grant to a more feasible or a more manageable level to keep up with the food poverty line of 760 rand, so that it isn't so well below that food poverty line. And they were saying that it doesn't have to be a bureaucratic process. There are easier ways to do it. It doesn't have to go to Parliament as well. So let us hear from Paula Proudluck, who is a part of the Children's Institute, about this.
We looked at policy and administrative considerations. By increasing to any of these poverty lines, even the upper bound poverty line, we are not moving away from the original vision of the CSG, which was a complementary grant. It will still then only cover food and clothes. You know, the other basic needs won't be covered. So it's still complementary. It's not taking over the full responsibility of the cost of a child. The beauty of this proposal is that it's administratively easy to do. A few presses of the button and some government gazettes. It doesn't have to go through Parliament. Okay, the increase can be done by government notice by using the top-up mechanism that is already in the Acts and the regs in Section 12A. It doesn't require more human resources. It doesn't require, more personnel budgets. It's easy to administer, and it would immediately have an effect for millions of poor children. The elephant in the room, do we have the money? That is debatable depending on your economic ideology.
Hloni Mthimkulu are going to stay on that story for us, but just imagine 510 months to keep a little one going, both to feed, to house, and to sustain them as well. It's a frightening thought. It really should be a lot more money. Well, when we come back in a moment.